Welcome back to the Postpartum Prep Podcast. My name is Ceridwen, I'm your podcast host, and today I'm joined by Alaina for a conversation all about twins. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Alaina because I think her whole philosophy is so interesting around twins, and I'm super excited to have her here today. So, Alaina is the mother and voice behind Nurturing Twins, a community supporting and resourcing twin mothers to prioritize attachment with their babies. She is a passionate advocate for the Mother-Baby Triad and guides mothers through mindset shifts, education on the intersection between neuroscience and nurture, and has pioneered the first nurture-guided sleep program specifically for families of multiples. I'm so excited to have her here today, sharing all things twins with us. Welcome, Alaina. Thank you for
Thank you
being
so
here.
much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too, and I feel like this is such a long time coming. I've been following you for so long, and I feel like we've had like a little back and forth, but it's so nice to actually finally get to chat with you in person or over Zoom.
Over.
Um,
Yes.
Before we kind of get into everything to do with, your philosophy around twins, I would love to actually start with your journey and just hear a little bit about what got you into this work.
Yeah. Well, as a first-time mother, I found out at 9 weeks that I was having twin girls. I didn't know they were girls yet then. In my spirit I did, but logistically not quite. But I had a really intense initiation into motherhood, right? Like both between the incredible weight, both physically and spiritually, all of the things of having two babies and having to find a way to reconcile the vision I already had for myself as a mother with what everyone and everything around me was telling me now that I was having two babies, not just one. Because, see, I had envisioned myself as, oh, I'm going to be baby wearing all the time, exclusively breastfeeding, going to have my baby in my bed. All of these things are just going to easily unfold. And maybe if they're not easy, it will come so naturally to me just because the mother baby is meant to be together. And so this is just going to be simple, even if it's challenging, it's going to be simple. And then there was another baby. There were two babies. And so immediately I did what every millennial would do, which is scoured the internet trying to find examples of mothers who were cloth diapering twins, who were breastfeeding twins exclusively, who were home birthing or having a natural birth, all of these things that felt so incredibly important to me. And I was kind of coming up dry. There was like a blog from like 2008 and then all of the mainstream things that just shouted, bottles, strict schedule, you're going to be in the NICU, this, that, all of the things. And it felt so overwhelming for me. And so I really just kind of had to lean into my intuition and grow in my capacity and in my resourcing throughout pregnancy and then through birth and postpartum to find and create the experience that I wanted to have and that I knew was needed for myself and my daughters. And sort of once I felt like I was far enough on the other side to be able to speak from experience and to be able to support others through it, I started nurturing twins.
Yeah, and that's when you started nurturing twins, was it just an Instagram account or was
Just
it your like
Instagram.
whole?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
literally all I did initially was just I had the idea, there really needs to be like a space for because I over the course of, my daughters, I guess they were probably about like 16 months or so when I started my Instagram account. I had already connected with twin mothers who were living similarly to myself, who had similar values, but there was no like central hub or anything I could even point other mothers to if we were having conversations about things. And so that was when I decided to create my Instagram account, Nurturing Twins, and started super humble, just sharing my own experience. And over time, have been able to build a really strong, tight knit community, both on Instagram, and now we've kind of expanded into the Nurturing Twins Village, which is like an off social media connective community space where we host events and have discussions and everything. So yeah, it's just been really incredible to see how much has changed really just in the span of a year.
Yeah, I've been watching like your journey over the past year or so, and like I think it's just so exciting to see where you started and now everything that you're building and that you're sharing and that you're holding space for as well. And I love also kind of seeing you've done like some collaborative posts with where twin moms kind of submit, and it's amazing. I think it sounds just hearing where you started in your own journey, where it was like you really had no resources for you in in the kind of what you were looking for, and definitely no community around that, and like the difference between that kind of lonely experience to this now community and how important that really is. I think it's so amazing that you've created that, and I'm so excited to chat with you more about your specific philosophy, I guess, when it comes to raising twins. So, I think the first place to start when we're talking about it is this term you use, the mother-baby triad. Now, we talk for anyone who's like familiar with my brand is mother-baby well-being, the same mother-baby as one word. And it's the same with the mother-baby triad as one word, but I typically refer to it as the mother-baby dyad. And maybe you can explain when we say mother baby triad, kind of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I fell in love with the language of the mother baby dyad when I discovered it. And I felt like finally, as I had been mothering from a place of really prioritizing attachment and connection with my daughters, um, that gave language to the truth that my body had already shown me, just through our connection. But it felt lacking because I was like, oh, this mother baby dyad and this mother baby dyad, like this doesn't make sense. Um, and I noticed that, people talk about the magic and the mystery of the twin bond, and that is so potent. And the mother baby relationship is so potent. And the the incredible thing with twins is the fact that all of these exist not in silos from one another, but in tandem, truly. And so I coined the term the mother baby triad because I didn't see it anywhere. And frankly, I felt yeah, that profound absence of the language, and um in breastfeeding and in so many different areas, representation is so vital to giving people a place at the table, right? And for twin mothers who are already experiencing more fragmentation in the mother baby relationship, truly just because of the nature of the cascade of interventions that we deal with from, I would argue, from the moment that we find out that we're having two babies. I always joke with, there's a few moms in my community who had surprise twins at birth. And yeah, and
Wow.
I joke with them that like they got the luckiest draw of all of us because as soon as you find out you're having twins, your experience can be very quickly co-opted and medicalized and outsourced, and the cascade of interventions terminology is utilized typically only in regards to birth interventions. But I would argue that for twin mothers, that those interventions span far before and far beyond just birth. Um, so the importance of the mother baby triad, it gives us the language and the ability to get the right perspective when we are approaching that relationship. And it really fundamentally changes the way that we navigate it. it fundamentally shifts us from managing our babies into like true relationship, delighting in them, confiding
Mm.
in them, connecting with them, allowing there to be this responsive dance of attunement. I was just listening to a talk from Dr. Rocio Zunini talking about Dr. Mary Ainsworth's work with regard to attunement. And the word attunement is used a lot in like high nurture parenting circles. It's about tuning in and so creating harmony. And I love the musical terminology because I come from a musical family. But I love the idea of us harmonizing with our babies and
Mm.
being able to, instead of trying to perhaps shift their melody to you know, come into harmony with them, like create that space for our relationship to blossom into what it's meant to be.
Mm.
And I think a lot of moms of twins feel like their focus has to become surviving and facilitating their twins' relationship. And it goes much deeper than that. So I'm delighted and privileged to be able to speak about this and the fact that it's resonated with so many twin moms. I know that there's something deeper here that I've, had the fortune of tapping into.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think I hear how, it started off as for you, kind of you wanted this like a high nurture parenting experience was always important to you, but it was always conceptualized in the mother baby dyad rather than what you felt to be true was the mother baby triad, whereas really the three of you are all kind of attuning to each other, maybe is
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think too, um it can be really common for the mindset of scarcity to sneak in when
Mm,
the mother baby dyad is now a triad, right? Because
mm,
we're thinking
mm,
about how am I going to feed two babies? How am I going to respond to two babies? There's only one of me. There's simply not enough attention, enough arms, enough
mm,
whatever. And the fundamental shift that it really took for me to move into a better place in my motherhood and that I've
mm,
been able to guide and support so many other mothers through is this abundance. Like, it's not just the mother baby dyad. You have this abundance, like, you are already evidence of a miracle. Like, you're
mm,
living abundance. You grew, you birthed, you are
mm,
raising two babies, not one.
mm,
Like, that's incredible. That is something people dream about. I know a lot of people roll their eyes when people say, "Oh, you have your hands full," or "I always wished for twins." Like a lot of twin moms will be like, "You, I would never." And I'm like, this is such a huge blessing. It is an incredible gift that we have.
mm,
And it's also evidence. Like I am a very sciencey minded person. I know I talk a lot of philosophy, but very scientifically minded. And you have the evidence, the hard evidence right in front of you that you are capable because you've already done so much. You have already made it through every single hard day. Pregnancy for me was incredibly challenging.
mm,
I had hyperemesis gravidarium, so I was sick my entire pregnancy, reliant on pharmaceutical medications, IV fluids. I was like having to force feed myself around the clock just to be able to gain the weight that I needed to be able to support my daughters and myself through pregnancy. And I survived that. I think a lot of moms don't give themselves enough credit for all of the hard things that we do and
mm,
our, you know, our completion rate is always 100% because no matter how hard of a day you have, the next day is always a new day.
mm. Yeah, it's always coming around and you've always completed the day before. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love this abundance mindset shifting from kind of, yeah, feeling like there's one of me and now there's two babies. Actually, like, yeah, but you are the one that created those two babies.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you have that capacity. Um,
And motherhood is always about expansion of capacity, right? Like it doesn't
Mm,
matter whether you have one baby or two, but um, I didn't have the same capacity at 1 month postpartum that I had at 5 months postpartum that I
mm,
had at 22 months, like we are constantly stretching our muscles, expanding our capacity, learning, trying new things, and we have to give ourselves grace in that. But yeah, approaching it from that place of abundance that I have in me what I need for this and that I'm capable. I've already carried these babies. I've been entrusted with them. There's a purpose to this.
yeah. I think that's so true. Something I wanted to circle back to was you had touched on how the mother-baby triad kind of helped you in navigating some of the maybe more traditional ways that people tend to talk about raising twins, that are perhaps not as aligned with the high nurture style of parenting that you were going for. Can you explain a little bit what are some of the common, I don't know if you'd say like misconceptions or ideas around how you must raise twin babies, and how you navigated that and what you maybe found to be true or not true for you?
Yeah, I would say the mainstream approach to parenting twins is more so about finding the way to sync and overlap and set schedules to manage. And I understand just logistically the mindset behind that, right? But your babies are not a business. Your job is not to manage your babies. It's to be present with them, to be in relationship. And so generating this understanding of the mother baby triad helped me to align my values with my practices and to decide and discern through the lens of the mother baby triad what was going to serve us and what was not. And something that I tell moms all the time is that no one member of the mother baby triad, like, there's nothing that is good for one member that is going to be harmful for another. And so that lens helps me to make decisions and support myself and my children through, our experiences. And so, like, for in regards to like birth, I made the decisions that I made for birth through the lens of what was going to be the most supportive for all of us. And then when things didn't go to plan, um, I kept that mindset to guide us through different decisions and to still bring that awareness and that dignity to my children and to myself through our experiences navigating the hospital and the NICU. Um, and then with regards to feeding, the mainstream perspective tends to be with twins. You can try to breastfeed. Most likely, you need to combo feed. You'll eventually be formula feeding exclusively. It's good for your mental health. That's the best thing for your mental health. Um, what I wish mothers understood, especially through the lens of the mother baby triad, is that it is mutually beneficial. Like one of your previous podcast episode guests, Claire Fagan, said, mutually nourishing to have this relationship and to support ourselves together. And breastfeeding is so, so, so incredibly nutritive on a neurological level, on an emotional level, I would argue even on a spiritual level. So building that and protecting that relationship for me was non-negotiable. So when we experienced challenges with feeding and we had issues arise where I was needing to pump in order to feed my daughters, or we had to accept some donor milk, like we were still able to make the necessary pivots. Motherhood, twin motherhood particularly, I feel like you just have to have this flexibility. but being flexible, being pliable, being able to move through it with the right perspective instead of the alternative being the either have no expectations or be super duper type A about everything and just, schedule out your day. And um, a lot of the approaches that we get with multiples, like the core of it, the root of it is not inherently bad. Like saying you need to have extra sets of hands, you need people around. I agree with that. I think it's incredibly important for any new mother, but especially a mother of twins, to have people around who are supportive and helpful and can, you know, hold a baby if you need them to, or wash the dishes or whatever. But in the mainstream twin philosophy, it tends to be more so of like, you need to be having a night nanny come in and handle all of the nights. And that's what you're going to be doing in order to survive. Or if you have friends or family who are going to help around, you need to be having them feed bottles because, it's just too much work for you if you are the sole provider of their nourishment. Whereas, like, the reality is the other people around, they can do everything else, right? Like, their job is to support the mother so that the mother can support the babies. And so, what that looked like in my life was my mom and my mother-in-law literally coming on the days where my husband wasn't able to be around and were literally helping me prop babies up so that I could learn how to tandem feed, like that's actually being the village. How sad would it be if they were saying, I'm only going to help if you pump and I can bottle feed them for you, instead of helping me to preserve the integrity of our mother baby triad? Because,
Mhm.
again, mutually nourishing, supportive for my mental health, for that of my daughters, and really, really protective of our bond, and has given us so much more ease and yeah, just like fluidity in our days. Like I can't imagine having a set, oh, they've been awake for 45 minutes, so I must put them to bed now. And if they will not sleep in the bassinet, then they have to sleep in the crib. And if they won't do that, then it's not a real nap. Like I see so many moms get caught in these traps that have been imposed by, you know, corporations and maybe some well-meaning people, but I do think that the core of it is really, maybe I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. I don't know. I think that society benefits from the integrity of the mother baby dyad or triad, but that the, I'm not saying this well. I think that mega corporations and capitalism at its core is not compatible with the mother baby,
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
really focuses on trying to diffuse that.
Because so much of like the mother baby dyad or triad is like a lot of well-being comes when actually you aren't kind of influenced by like, oh, you need to
Hands
buy
off.
this
Yeah.
thing or this thing, and you actually focus on like what, or you just allow what happens through
Yes.
the triad to nourish you,
Hmm.
and you don't really need much else.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously there's a whole other conversation about like the support that also goes into supporting, but it's all about like you kind of gave a great example. It's about supporting the mother baby dyad or triad together rather than kind of separating them and calling that support.
Right.
Yeah, and but that kind of that real support again, that's not something that like any corporation can really offer. And yeah, obviously capitalism. um I I don't know how you would feel, but I you kind of mentioned a little bit about your breastfeeding journey and how kind of
Yeah.
would you be willing to go a little deeper into that? How
Totally.
you kind of started and how it developed for you?
Yeah. So I I don't love sharing my birth story because I feel like it might scare some people, but it's relevant because I wouldn't be who I am or where I am as a high nurture parent if I hadn't navigated the experiences that I navigated. So I planned a home birth with my daughters. I developed HELLP syndrome, which is like preeclampsia times 12, basically. Um, my body just couldn't continue to sustain pregnancy at that point. And so I had made it to 37 and 3 and made the decision with my husband to go into the hospital because I knew that my body was not well. And so I had my first daughter unmedicated vaginally after, I guess, like 11 hours of labor, um, and pushed for 2 hours on the dot, 2 hours on the dot, and she came out. Um, and then 33 minutes later, my second daughter was born via emergency C-section. Due to the HELLP syndrome, my body just couldn't keep laboring.
Mhm.
So, right from the get-go, I mean, when we made that decision, I told the doctor, this is my worst nightmare. And she said, I know, I'm so sorry. And we did what had to be done in order to protect my life and that of my daughter. And for that, I'm grateful. You know, hospital exists for these reasons, right? Um, I had an incredibly difficult, didn't have my golden hour, instead I'm like shaking on a table, having an allergic reaction to the spinal. Like,
Oh my gosh.
insane. Um, so when we were reunited, thankfully, my husband was with with my girls, in the recovery room. And so when I was brought to them, he was holding them already, getting some good skin to skin. Um, and I was able to latch them for the first time with his support. And um, they were, like I said, they were born at 37 and 3, so that would be considered full term for twins, but it still is early term. Um, so they were doing their very best to suckle. And one of them has been a pro from literally day one. Like, got it. She was perfect. So good at it. My other daughter needed a little bit more support. And so she was lethargic at the breast. And, I had many lactation consultants coming in like every other hour to help me because everyone's like, oh, this lady had twins and two different ways. And this is crazy. And so, people just kept coming in. And, some of them were helpful and some of them, their advice conflicted with each other. So it was a little bit confusing. Um,
Can I
but
just pause just
yes.
to, for anyone listening, we did an episode recently with a mindful mama mentor. I can't remember what the episode was called, but we talked all about like navigating conflicting feeding advice in that episode. So just
Oh,
to
good.
point anyone back to that episode if they want to kind of talk or learn more about how to navigate that. Sorry, please continue.
No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, so I ended up attempting initially to tandem feed and then just because of them being so little, just deciding to prioritize trying to get each of them a really good latch on their own. And so I was alternating breasts every feed, really just kind of trying to help them to be able to um, have a good latch, but also to bring my milk in because I lost a lot of blood. I had a really, traumatic end of pregnancy and birth. Obviously, it was a lot on my body. Had to have blood transfusions and things like that. So it was just a lot. Um, so I was getting some colostrum, but I did request donor milk in the hospital, and because of my daughters, their size and gestational age, we were able to receive donor milk, thankfully. Otherwise, I would have been texting some of my mom friends to get some into the hospital. But yeah, after their second day of life, we were rushed emergency to the NICU um, due to some complications with one of my daughters. She was sick And I'm sorry, I need a moment to
Yeah,
process.
for sure.
Um, so that was the worst night of my life, understandably. And
Hmm.
we, you know, I was pushed to a big Medela hospital grade pump and told to get to work because now I can't latch my babies and they have to be here and you have to keep them safe and there's too many wires. You can't pick them up. It's not reasonable to think about breastfeeding right now. We can give them donor milk for another week, but after that, it's all up to you. And so, my nipples were still bleeding from just trying to latch two brand new little babies, with some degree of oral restriction just because of their age again and the circumstances of their births. Um, so I thankfully had, you know, lactation support in the hospital and I had nipple balm and I had silverettes and I had my mom and my mother-in-law who both had experience with breastfeeding, but not really at all with pumping. And so this was what I was thrust into. And now I was exclusively pumping for, I didn't know how long it was going to be. Thankfully, one of my daughters was discharged when we were discharged at the end of that week. And so I was able to bring her back to the breast pretty much within a matter of a few days. But my other daughter, um, my life is a little bit of a disaster. We got COVID from the hospital.
Oh
So
my
we were not
gosh.
able to go back to her after we left the hospital. We got sick and we couldn't go back.
Oh my gosh.
So talk about a first postpartum, right?
And also, can we just highlight the fact you were recovering not only from a vaginal delivery and also a C, like who is
Yeah.
recovering? I mean, I'm sorry, that is
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot that you were
Yeah.
going through.
Yeah. It was a
I
lot.
have goosebumps like that. Oh my, yeah.
Yeah. Um, Again, I don't want to scare anyone with my story, but I can't not share authentically, right?
Yeah.
So I was breastfeeding one daughter exclusively and pumping for the other, and having my dad and my father-in-law bring the milk to the hospital because we weren't allowed to go. Um,
Yeah.
and so she was gaining well and she was, getting her ounces in and everything like that. And so when she was able to be discharged and we were well again, we were all able to be reunited after 15 days apart.
Oh, wow.
Um, and
What
at
was
that,
that like?
truly, I cannot express to you. I talk about the language of the mother baby triad was something that I gained really because it was something that my body knew. I felt like I left like my internal organs at
Yeah.
the hospital when I had to leave and she was there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I, had one baby with me and not another. And I
Yeah.
had some people in my life saying, "Oh, this is like you get to like practice like what it would be like to have one baby." And I just wanted to die because I was like, "How could you say such a thing?"
No.
So when we were reunited, I was just like, I experienced DMR, so dysphoric milk ejection response
Hmm.
from pumping.
For
Didn't
anyone
experience it. Yes, go ahead.
anyone who like doesn't maybe anyone who's pregnant who's never heard of that before, can you just explain what that means?
Yes. So there can be a sensation in your body when you experience a letdown that really I don't know how else to describe it other than
Can we
feeling.
also
Oh,
explain what a
yeah.
letdown
Please.
means?
Yes. When your body builds up enough milk that it's going to release milk to your baby, that's called a letdown.
Hmm.
And typically, with that, I can't remember exactly what hormone is implicated in it. Maybe dopamine. I believe that there
Oxytocin is a big
oxytocin
one.
is
Hmm.
a big one, yes, but I believe that there's a pretty big dopamine drop in
Okay.
the experience of
Okay.
dysphoric milk ejection response. And so the language that people use to describe it is something along the lines of homesickness. I felt tremendously ill and sad every time
Mm.
I would have a release of my milk once
Mm.
my milk had come in, and only with pumping. I do believe that there is absolutely a link between the trauma that I experienced
Mm.
and that being tied to pumping. And so when my daughter
So
came home,
when you were feeding at the
yes,
breast, you didn't experience that
no,
same
I did not. It
feeling.
was really
Okay.
exclusively with pumping.
Mm.
And, you know, obviously there was a profound sense of loss I was experiencing. But
Yeah.
even outside of those circumstances, like for like a month or so after they came home, I occasionally would like pump if I like had an appointment or something. And
Mm.
every time without fail, I would have that experience. And so I was like,
Mm.
well, this is clearly not, I'm not going to be one of those moms who's building a freezer stash
Mm.
because this feels really sickening for me.
Mm.
And I mean, I went into a birth and everything with the expectation that, you know, I'm going to be the pacifier. We're not going to use pacifiers. Of course, in the NICU, they give pacifiers because
Mm.
they simply are trying to help the babies to, cope with the separation as best as possible.
Mm.
So when she came home, pacifiers went in the trash. The hospital bottles all went in the trash. I was given a nipple shield and suggested that I use it because she had been exclusively fed for, pretty much the entirety of her first 2 weeks of life, with the exception of the
Mm.
first 2 days.
Mm.
Um, and I just said, we're going to figure it out. And so I chose to use the nipple shield once. It's like a little thing that you put over your breast that it's like a plastic, sort of silicone, I guess, um, allows the baby to have an easier latch. It's more similar to latching to a bottle.
Mm.
Um, but I knew that so much of our experience had already been robbed from us, and that this was not about me, but this was about rebuilding the trust and the security between my daughters and myself. And
Mm.
so I put all those things away, threw the pump into the closet, and just focused on being as present and connected with my babies as possible. And
Mm.
so the twin bassinet sat in the corner and became a fantastic laundry hamper.
Oh yeah.
Good place to throw dirty diapers, all of the things. The crib ended up having a similar function for us as well.
Mm.
And my husband and I learned to safely chest sleep with one of them on each of our chests. And I would tandem feed them pretty much from the moment that they got home onwards. I was almost always tandem feeding, unless, like, just one baby needed to eat. But my goal was that they would not be not touching me if I could help it. And I really, really believe that prioritizing nurture was the medicine that got me through not developing severe PTSD or postpartum anxiety or depression or even postpartum psychosis, as I know so many mothers who have navigated similar NICU journeys who have had wildly different experiences from me. Pardon.
Um, I
Credit.
just want to, while you take a sip of water there, I just wanted to pop in and say, just about chest sleeping. We have an episode where we talk about chest sleeping because obviously there are like safety guidelines involved. So I'll just be sure to link that in the show notes for anyone that's interested, in learning more about chest sleeping. But please go ahead and,
Yeah. Yeah. So I truly believe that nurture is medicine for mothers, and and that is why, I mean,
sorry,
not
they
just mothers
call
and babies, of
like,
course, my husband.
the
Can you hear
call,
me?
yeah, you
Is
just
it
came back.
working?
The call kind of came off there. I think you were saying nurture is medicine, and then it kind of cut
Okay.
off.
Yeah. Yeah. I truly believe that nurture is medicine for mothers and babies. It can be preventative medicine, or it can be, true medicine, retroactive, like treating,
Mm,
being a balm for,
absolutely.
the ruptures that occur, whether you have a textbook delivery or not, whether you have even just navigating bringing a child or two into the world, with society having expectations and having, just not the true village and support that you deserve, there will be ruptures and there will be challenges that you will endure. Let nurture be your medicine. Let your baby, rather than being a problem for you to solve, be a person for you to delight in, a person who is reflecting back all of the good and all of the hopes and dreams that you've ever had. They are so pure and so innocent and so truly good. And when we lean into that instead of trying to control them or track them, tracking diapers, tracking bottles, tracking feeds, tracking all the things, it's so insidious. We can just let that go. And like you said earlier, it doesn't take a lot of outside things. You just have to flow in the rhythm of your relationship. And your mother baby relationship is not necessarily going to look like mine. The choices that you make within your family are yours. But I want you to be supported and grounded in doing that, and doing that from a place of congruence between you and your babies, and not doing it from a place of performing for anyone, anyone other than just being really rooted and secure in your relationship.
Hmm. Wow, that's I love everything that you just said. Um, I just wanted to make sure that we kind of held space fully for your story because I know that was really big for you to share. And thank you so much
Yeah.
for your vulnerability. So it sounds like kind of when your daughter came home from the hospital, you and your two daughters and your husband, you spent a lot of time doing skin to skin. And how did breastfeeding and kind of your relationship? It sounds like obviously that nurture really was the medicine.
Yeah.
Um, how did everything kind of develop from there? Were you able to continue breastfeeding? Did you end up kind of? Would you mind telling us kind of what happened from there? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I only ever used like two bottles ever since
Wow.
I came home from the NICU. One when I had my 6-week checkup, and one when I went to physical therapy for my pelvic floor because I needed it. Um, Other than that, I just chose to prioritize ecological breastfeeding. So, breastfeeding responsibly, paying attention to my daughter's cues, and supporting them through body work and chiropractic as needed. We were doing a lot of that really to support my daughter who had been in the NICU for a longer duration of time, to help her with her palate, and to help her just with releasing the tension that she had in her body from all of the things that she had endured. So that was incredibly supportive for us. And like I said, ecological breastfeeding. So really just paying attention to any single time that anything was going on. I was like, you probably need a boob. And I would just pop her on with both of them. And that it's so funny, you go from being at a point where every single time you're like counting the minutes and you're like, oh my goodness, can I handle this any longer? I don't know, because it can be incredibly overwhelming. It can be really, really hard. Like I have had a very successful breastfeeding journey. My daughters are 30 months, 32 months, and they're still
Mm,
breastfeeding. Um, Pretty much whenever they need to, which is
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
But it was not an easy journey remotely. Like I made those choices to feed them responsibly and feed them whenever they needed to, but we still had issues with our latches. We still had, cluster feeding is such an intense experience as a new mom, because I knew I was grounded in biological reality, which was the fact that milk production is a, call and response. Like if you offer the breast frequently, and if you allow your babies to empty you, then you will fill more and you will meet their needs. I knew that. And when they would cluster feed, I would feel the sensation of, oh, my breasts don't feel as full as they did earlier. And what if they're crying right now? What is this crying? Am I not enough? Am I not feeding them enough? Should I supplement? I had all of these questions running through me, and I think so many first-time moms do, or even just first-time moms to twins. Um, but being grounded and rooted in the knowing of, yes, my body was meant to do this, my body is capable of doing this,
Mm-hmm.
building that support, like I said, that I needed, which was ensuring that I was being adequately fed and that I had plenty to drink, that we had the external support that we needed when we needed it. So when they were cluster feeding, I would either have my husband, if he was home or before he would leave home, he would put together just a big lunch box full of all of the
Oh.
snacks he could possibly think of that I would want to eat. And he would fill my big water bottle and set it on the couch next to me with my breastfeeding pillow so that when that time rolled around, I had what I needed so that I could just sit there and be, like I said earlier in the episode, my mom and my mother-in-law would alternate the days that they would come, and they would always sort of like time it so that at when we were going through cluster feeding, they would time their visits so that food was being made, food was being brought to me, what needed to be done was being done, babies were being held if I needed to quickly run to the bathroom, um, and then we could get back to it. So yeah, I think just having the proper support.
Mm-hmm.
I could have been much more supported, certainly, but
Mm-hmm.
understanding what I needed and getting those needs met was crucial to me being able to meet their needs because I knew I can and I will meet their needs, but I need the support in order for me to do that, not from an empty cup.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think if there's anything that we really want to like drive home to, or that I always am constantly trying to drive home to pregnant moms is the importance of support.
Yeah.
And I wanted to slightly transition into a slightly different topic, but
Yeah.
I thought a good transition point might be you mentioned ecological breastfeeding. That's not a term that I've heard before. Can you tell me about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh goodness, what is her name? Alaina, the lady who wrote Hunt Gather Parent, and she
Oh, I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but I will make sure to link her in the show notes.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So she discusses that as the way that mothers ancestrally fed, in that when it comes to just having adequate supply for babies and the way that babies prefer to eat, they prefer to snack, right? They prefer to have a little bit and then, move around, experience life, do what they need to do, and then have more because breastfeeding is not just about nutrition, but it's also about checking in, it's about connection, it's about support, emotion regulation, pain management, all of these things,
Hmm.
sleep support, of course. Um, so I chose to, in order to be able to build an adequate supply, especially when I knew that one of my daughters had some more challenges with being able to transfer milk the same way that her sister was. My goal was just to, anytime that there could be a need for nursing, I would fill that need.
Hmm.
And so I never had a like, oh, it's been 2 hours, time to feed the babies.
Hmm.
It was more so of, okay, just any time that they could possibly need it. And sometimes that looked like they were nursing every 15 minutes. Sometimes it was like there's never not a baby on my body. Sometimes it was a longer stretch of like 45. Sometimes it was 2.5 hours, like it really can vary, but the
Hmm.
goal is to be responsive in your care to clue in. And the cool thing about our brains, too, as mothers, is in this postpartum period and in your pregnancy as well, your brain is more malleable in certain areas that help you to become more responsive. So
Mm.
it's like you get out what you put in. The more responsive you are as a parent, the more you are cluing into your baby's signals, the easier it is for your brain to identify those signals,
Mm,
to find those patterns, and to do it more quickly so that less there's less crying, there's less tension, there's less stress about, am I doing this the right way? Am I responding to my baby the way that they need me to?
mm,
Because literally in synchrony. You're building
mm,
that synchrony by your relationship and your responsivity. And so breastfeeding is not at all different from that. It's just part of it. And I found that doing that helped me to, once we got through, I'd say the first 12 weeks were the hardest for me with breastfeeding. And I tell every new twin mom, I'm like, if you can make it through the first 12 weeks, I truly believe you can breastfeed for as long as it serves your mother-baby triad. And for some people, that is 4 months. Fantastic. For some people, that is 48 months. Incredible. Like, I love and support every mother who breastfeeds their babies, and I want you to know that you can do it for as long as it is supportive for your family. And yeah, it doesn't have to be scary or feel impossible just because what we see is so focused on, utilizing external supports. They're not necessary intrinsically. Like, you can do it, but it will take a different approach than the mainstream approach. So
mm,
instead of thinking about babies eating on a schedule that a formula fed baby would eat on, you have to do it in that responsive way so that your baby is getting adequate nutrition and adequate connection.
mhm. I wanted to just mention as well, the importance of like having a good IBCLC or like a lactation consultant on hand,
Totally.
if you need any like extra support. Um, like I'm sure it sounds like you kind of had seen maybe some
Yeah,
IBCLCs or
I
something.
connected with, funnily enough, she was a twin mom and a twin. Um,
Oh.
we connected at the hospital, and I ended up following up with her and meeting with her a few times after going home
Hmm.
just to get that additional level of support. But yeah, I always say, like, do as I say, not as I do, because I didn't, meet with a lactation professional prior to having my babies. I was like, my body was meant to do this. It's gonna do it. And like, I'm a really stubborn, hard-headed person, so I did it. But like, please set yourself up for more success. Like, work with lactation professionals, like, from the get-go.
I think I was just thinking because a lot of the things you were just, I don't know if you know that I'm a lactation counselor. So a
I
lot
didn't
of
know.
the things
That's
that you
amazing.
were, yeah, a lot of the things that you were describing are very similar to things that any breastfeeding mom, regardless of one baby or two or three, like things to do with trusting in like the process of milk production and cluster feeding. And I think those things are so, and you even brought up it's breastfeeding is completely different way of feeding your baby from formula feeding. But our
Yeah.
society, we have like the mindset that what is normal for formula feeding is normal for breastfeeding when that's just not true.
Right.
And that I guess these are all sorts of like all sorts of myths can kind of come in when it comes to breastfeeding, and that can accidentally derail a breastfeeding journey if you don't know what you don't know. And I think that's where for me like a lactation consultant can be like really helpful, even just for reassurance. Like, in those
Absolutely.
moments
Absolutely.
where you're wondering, my breasts feel really empty, like, is this normal? A lactation consultant can come in and explain that process of milk production and just offer that reassurance. I wanted to ask you about the ecological breastfeeding because you mentioned earlier about how common it is for twin moms to hear a lot of advice about really strict schedules. And I think it's really interesting because obviously ecological breastfeeding is not at all about schedules, it's about responsiveness.
Mhm.
And I wanted to also kind of bring this in to the topic of sleep because I know you have a program all about sleeping with twins. And so I was wondering if we could just spend a little more time exploring what sleep looks like with twins and I guess a little bit around like maybe what daily life might look like if you're not. I mean, my understanding is that your approach is not about strict schedules when it comes to sleep.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I was curious, could you tell us a little bit about that and like what maybe advice you'd have for like expecting moms of multiples?
Yes. Well, oh my goodness, so many good things to dig into. I would say I said it earlier and I'll say it again, and I'll probably say it until the day I die that motherhood requires so much flexibility. And so my goal through my work and through supporting other mothers is really just to offer you the resourcing that you need so that you can take what serves you in this current season. Because it's going to shift. It's going to shift. Like the way that I was feeding my babies when they were newborns and were having to, learn. I'm still ecologically breastfeeding, I would say. I very rarely, unless like there's truly a reason not to, I very rarely refuse a feed. And there'll be 3 at the end of summer. So it's like, the requests are not as high as they were obviously when they were little, right? The need is not quite as high, but the responsivity is still there. Sleep is the same way. I believe that I believe that co-sleeping, so co-sleeping, the proper definition of it is a shared sleep area. So room sharing and co-sleeping are synonymous terms. Co-sleeping is usually utilized to share about some form of bed sharing, whether that is having a crib that is sidecarred, so the side is removed and it's brought up right alongside the bed, or sharing the bed surface entirely with your infants, or having some sort of a hybrid situation with maybe 1 to 2 cribs in the room, a twin bassinet, a variety. There's a lot of options. And I love helping parents to find what options might serve them for them and their babies, and just to see how it evolves over time. It's been really cool to support families and see, early we liked putting my girls in the same crib together for sleeps that were not like contact naps. Because generally speaking, I pretty much, for the majority of the first year, if they were not contact napping, it was like in the stroller or in the car.
Can we
Um,
just pause and
yeah.
explain what we mean by contact napping for any pregnant moms who might not know what
Yes.
we mean?
So contact napping is napping that is on a caregiver. So you could be baby wearing, or you could be laying in the bed with the baby, or you could be sat on the couch or on a chair with a good book. But essentially, it is that you've got a baby skin to skin on you for their sleep. And some sleep resources try to tell you that those naps don't count. I'm here to tell you that all sleep counts. That's crazy. And contact naps are doing so much good, going back to the idea of mutual nourishment and serving your mother baby. It's so supportive of your relationship. The same way that you are getting that oxytocin flow when you're breastfeeding, you are getting that when you have a baby on your chest. And it's funny because it hits really hard in the 4th trimester when your babies are brand new, to the point where I remember even like grandmas or my husband would have a baby on their chest and would like the oxytocin hit would be so hard they would like start to nod off and fall asleep with the baby because it just felt so good. But it's designed to be that way. It is so good for you. And so I am a staunch advocate for contact napping. I love helping other mothers learn how to baby wear your twins from the get-go so that you can do contact naps and still live life. Um,
Can
but I
I just
also,
add something
yeah,
in there? I think when it comes to like, especially in my work with pregnant moms, I often find it's like the way we present contact naps, sometimes it sounds like it's just like a choice, like, oh, you could put your baby in a bassinet or you could hold them. And, I just choose to hold my baby, when in reality, often people end up contact napping because that's what their baby pretty
That's
much
where the baby will
demands.
sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a huge
And
role of that.
I
Go ahead.
I just wanted to highlight we have an episode that I did. I don't know if I think you know Gabrielle from Nurtured Mom, Nurtured
Yes. Love
Baby.
her.
So I did an episode with her, which is all about why babies want to sleep close. So for anyone who might be pregnant and like just wanting to understand a little bit more about like contact napping and like why we might go down that route, that episode, I'll make sure to link it. But yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
Continue,
absolutely.
please.
There
Yeah.
are so many temperament and sensory needs that can play a role in babies' sleep. It's so normal for babies to need movement and proximity in order to be able to rest. If you think about it, they've been in your belly with you moving and um, having them close to you and having that direct contact for their entire gestation. And we are carry mammals. That is literally the way that we are designed to exogestate, so externally gestate for at minimum the first 9 months out of the womb, just as they were in the womb. So yeah, learning how to sleep your baby on your body safely is such an incredible resource. And it's something that I found incredibly lacking for twins.
Mm.
As I said earlier in the episode, my husband and I would individually chest sleep with one baby each. For sleep when they were young, like I would say probably the first few months for nighttime sleep. And then from there, I just had to figure out a way to be able to safely bed share with both of them because I, again, was responsibly breastfeeding overnight and was not loving the whole let me just get up and pick up this baby over here and get my pillow and set myself up against the wall and, then nod forward and destroy my neck and, potentially put my babies in danger because of the position that we were in. So I had to figure out a better way. And I'm always transparent with people. I tried a lot of things, and a lot of them were not things that I would recommend other mothers to do. But that was kind of what put a fire under me to understand what the research was already saying, if there were researchers who were looking at how you could safely co-bed twins, so having twins in their own safe sleep space together, or bed share with them, what that could look like, what different sleep arrangements could look like. And so as I gathered that information and, kind of tucked it away for myself, as I began sharing my journey online and trying to support other mothers, I saw a true need for a comprehensive sleep resource. And initially, I led a cohort program, made a whole course about it because I was just thinking there's so much nuance. There's so much nuance. I need to understand your family situation, your temperaments, your even just your risk factors, because every family's risk factors for co-sleeping are different, right? Your comfort level, what your space looks like, what size bed do you have, what sort of budget do you have if you need to change things, you know what I mean? I thought there were so many factors, and so I built a whole course and was able to lead a live cohort through it over a 6 week span, which was so incredibly powerful. And I still felt the profound sense that I was missing the mark because there were all these other mothers who were approaching me who were saying, I can't necessarily do a whole, immersive experience, but I still need support. I still need resources. And so I consolidated the information that I had put in that course and I made a book, Sleeping with Twins, the guide. And it's been really incredible. I shared that in January and I've since helped over 100 families with that resource specifically. Um, yeah, basically
Can you
just,
give us like an overview of
yes.
uh, just, like the highlights of kind of what is included
Yeah.
in that guide? Yeah.
Yeah. So the foundation of it is explaining infant neurobiology and how sleep works for babies, because I feel like the typical approach with twins in general and with just sleep resources usually is this is your wake windows, this is your schedule, this is what to try, and these are the issues you're going to experience. And so let's work through those. And I just wanted parents to be able to foundationally understand what mechanisms are actually at work, why responsivity and support are not just nice and good to do, but are actually the blueprint for how to facilitate sleep. Like babies cannot clear cortisol themselves. They need that oxytocin buffer. They need us. They need us. It's not giving them the gift of sleep to deprive them of that presence and that support and that attunement. And so just building based off of that understanding and then moving into, okay, these are different arrangements that you could try. This is how you can safely co-bed your twins. So co-bedding means putting babies in one sleep space. I actually need to send the updated version because I expanded it after doing a little bit more research and now have a version for triplets as well because
Awesome.
yeah, there's so many different options that you can try, but I pulled from the work of Dr. Helen Ball and Dr. McKenna, and yeah, just was really just trying to put together all of the resources that I could find until that point, and then to
Mhm.
infuse that with the anecdotal evidence that I've received from working with so many different mothers who have had
Yeah.
such a wide range of experiences and
Mhm.
making that an informed approach of these are things to try, this is what the research says, and now let's navigate this together. So we discuss common challenges that are experienced. A lot of it applies to a single baby, but a lot of it is very twin specific, right? Just because there's so much more nuance with navigating multiple different temperaments, multiple different sleep needs. You could literally have one baby who's on the lowest end of the sleep need spectrum and the other one who is like on the highest. And like that's pretty similar to my lived experience. And it's kind of radical to experience that with identical twins, but there you go. Um, and so we navigate all of that and then go into what is biologically appropriate for sleep for babies and share about all the different ways to gosh, I'm out of water.
I know we've been talking a long time now.
I know. To how to support them through that. Different strategies to utilize, different ways to connect. And then it actually closes with a chapter about the mother-baby triad and just helping to weave together all of the understanding of what is physically going on and how we can facilitate that relationship, how we can navigate ruptures and repairs, how we can support our babies and ourselves so that we can have the best experience navigating whatever challenges may arise. Like, my goal is to build out as many options and resourcing as possible, but giving that foundational understanding so that no matter what choices that the parents who, read my guide make, that they are doing that from a supported place.
But I just have so much like admiration for you and creating all of this, and like I hope that anyone listening to this episode, especially anyone who has like known you from before listening to this episode and perhaps having now heard about your journey that you went through in your own experience, and then to get to this place where you're sharing like all of this knowledge and to, I believe, better the lives of so many moms and babies. It's like I have goosebumps. Just it's amazing, amazing, and I hope you're really proud of yourself. Um, I just have one more question. I know we've been talking a long
I'm
time, so
good. I'm good
are you
now.
okay
I
to
cleared it. We're
my
good.
last question that I have for you for this episode, and then we will be going on to record the Q&A episode for anyone listening. So, we're going to be recording a Q&A episode about preparing for postpartum with twins, a little bit more of the like practical stuff. So, for the last question for this episode, I ask everyone who comes on the podcast, if you could go back and talk to yourself when you were first pregnant with your babies, what advice would you have given to yourself, like knowing what you know now and all the experience you've had now?
Ah, I would I would tell myself that your capacity will expand far beyond your wildest dreams, and that you simply do not have to be fearful of this experience, because it's going to become the foundation for it's going to become the culmination of all of the work that you've done until this point. All of the care about holistic health, all of the care about child development and, you know, psychology, neuroscience, all of these things that were passions and pieces of my life prior to that point. None of it was wasted, and all of it was meant for this. This is the greatest undertaking, the greatest privilege that you have ever had. And don't resist allowing it to fundamentally change you.
Before we end, Alaina, could you just tell us, for any moms who are curious to learn more about you and wondering how they can maybe connect with you in your work, where they can find you?
Yes, so as we said earlier in the episode, I am nurturing twins, just at nurturing twins on Instagram. I have a Facebook page as well. And I started an off social media space for us to really be able to gather and just to be able to resource mothers the way that twin mothers deserve to be resourced. It's the Nurturing Twins Village. There's we have mother circles, and then we have expert calls where different experts will come in and share webinars to really just build out the resource library for you. I mean, my dream is that every new twin mother, as soon as she finds out that she's pregnant, can get directed towards nurturing twins in some regard and get the practical and community support that you need. So if you just go to nurturingtwins.com, it'll direct you right to the village.
Amazing. And everybody definitely should head right on over there. I think hopefully through this episode, I feel like we've sprinkled in a little details of what you might find inside. And I think it's an absolutely fabulous resource. So please head on over there, and everything will be linked in the episode description right for you there. So you can head on over. For anyone listening, if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video, and leave a comment letting us know how you're preparing for postpartum, especially if you're preparing with twins or if you have already gone through postpartum with twins. Please give us all your tips. If you're listening as a podcast, please be sure you are subscribed. And if you want to support the podcast, I would really appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Before you go, please share this episode with another pregnant or postpartum mama who would benefit from this episode. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much, Alaina, for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and record our Q&A episode now. So for everyone listening, we'll see you in the next episode, and Alaina, I'll see you there.
Thank you.